All set? Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, yeah, no.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone, to the Town of Manlius Planning Board. Today is May 8th, and we have a medium-sized agenda. First item on our agenda is approval of the minutes taken on April the 24th.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 24th minutes.
Motion made by Richard and second by Ann. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved unanimously. The next item on our agenda is the application by Marilyn Hazard relative to 6797 North Manlius Road, Kirkville, New York. This is her first presentation. She is seeking a 2-lot subdivision at that address, which is tax map number 049-2-2.1. Mrs. Hazard, would you like to come to the podium? And just, we have received from you surveys with some details on what you're trying to do. And can you just explain to the board what it is you're seeking to do and why?
Yes, my house is, or my property is, North Manlius Road in Myers Road, and I have just under 6 acres of land. The hay lot is on Myers Road, and the guy that has been cutting it is not cutting it anymore. I don't want it all overgrown, it's going to look terrible. So I've decided what I would like to do is sell that piece of property where the hay lot was. I did get a survey done and it's just under 3 acres. There's already a driveway on Myers Road for access to that property. So right now, there's nothing there and it looks really nice right now because it's not overgrown, but I can't cut it with just a regular garden tractor. That's not going to suffice, so I just want to keep it looking nice.
So
So I would like to sell it.
your intent after, if you obtain a subdivision, is to sell that back lot?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, it looks like you got some good help on this because according to your survey, it looks like you do not need any variances. Board members, questions?
I guess I have more of a statement than a question. Typically, we would ask for building envelopes for subdivisions. I don't think that's necessary with this subdivision. I guess I just want to make that statement. It's kind of meaningless with what we have there.
Since we don't know who the buyer would be or whether they want to put something up or not, yeah.
So typically, we want building envelopes on a subdivision. I don't think it's necessary.
Correct. I have to concur.
I only have a comment that Filer Road is spelled wrong.
Go ahead.
My only comment is that Filer Road is spelled wrong on the map.
Why not?
Filer.
I didn't
It is. I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Lisa, did this go to county?
No, because it's a 2 lots, only 2 lots.
No, I said new rule. We don't have to do county.
Yeah, it looks like it's in size. It's really front of everything. That's not a normal space lot. I think it would make it a building lot, residential.
That would be in a nice area. It's a rural
Yeah.
community. And, yeah. Any other questions of the applicant? She's getting away without being questioned in detail. At this point, this is a fairly simplified application. We do have to schedule a public hearing.
Okay,
So we will be scheduling a public hearing for May 22nd.
okay,
You're going to come back on May 22nd.
okay.
And public hearing may or may not result in people attending,
Mhm.
depending on whether they're excited about it or not. So May 22nd, public hearing.
Okay.
Oh,
I'll make a motion to have the public hearing on May 22nd.
motion by Richard, second by Ann, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next item on our agenda is a public hearing. This is by Horizon Solar Power and Catalyst Energy. Scheduled this evening for a public hearing with respect to the subdivision, the site plan, and special use permit. If they have a public hearing on that. This is for 4.25 megawatts of the solar array located at 7869 Peck Road, Kirkville, New York. Tax map number 042-1-32.1. We have already done seeker and we've already gone through special use criteria. So I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll second.
Motion made by Ann and seconded by Valerie. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing is hereby open. And Madam Secretary, just for the record, did we publish the proper notification of the public hearing?
Yes.
And would anyone care for a reading of that?
I'll waive the reading of the public notice.
Motion to waive the reading by Richard,
Second.
second by Arnie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The reading is hereby waived. The public hearing is hereby open regarding Horizon Solar Power for 7869 Peck Road, Kirkville. Hi there.
Hi there.
Did you want to talk about
May
it?
I just have a quick opening?
You may.
Yes,
You may.
Mr. Chair, thank you. My name is Andy Melka with Horizon Solar Power. I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, and I would just like to request that you allow this project to move forward. Simple as that. Happy to answer any questions that the board may have as well.
And we'll find out if they do have questions.
Thank you.
For the record, I would point out that we did have one item of correspondence that came in from Joseph Chirenza, who's an adjoining neighbor, and he was in opposition to the project for a few different reasons. Anyone in here want to speak on this?
I will.
Got someone else jumped up before you. Hi, could you come to the podium and tell us who you are and where you live?
My name's Mary Jane Warner, and I live at 7865 Peck Road. But I'm also the owner of 7869 Peck Road. And we'd just like to address everyone that we feel that this is a great opportunity for our family and our children. We believe that solar power is the way to go.
Can you speak louder?
Pardon me?
Can you speak a little louder?
I believe that the solar power is the way to go. We have property over 30 acres that is old farmland that's not being farmed anymore. We have no interest in farming it. The only homes I believe that can even probably see the property are both owned by myself. And we just think it'll be a good thing for our environment and our family.
Thank you. Someone else had their hand up. Can you tell us who you are and where you live?
Yes, my name is Nancy Kindart, and my boyfriend Mike Teskey and I own the property on 7850. 50. There should be two lots down, or two houses farmed, whatever down. We have several concerns over this proposed solar farm. And I think the major one that Cerenza and we have, and also the neighbors in back of this proposed solar farm, would be drainage. This is all land that is very close to Cicero Swamp. It is lowland. Even their property that the solar farm is proposed to go on, it is higher, but it is wet. We know it's wet because Mike has farmed it. And in August, driest month of the year, he has gotten stuck on this property. So I do travel Taft Road at least twice a day, and I've been by the Taft Road solar farm that is currently in use. I've been watching that for 4 years now. The amount of fill that has gone into that property, the concrete used to hold up the supports for these panels, that's gonna raise that already higher than the surrounding land even more. Where is this water going to drain to? Is it gonna drain onto Sorenza, so it harms his business? Is it going to drain then onto ours, which we farm to feed our livestock? If we get flooded out and we can't feed our livestock, what good is this land to us? Not to mention all of those houses that are backing up towards their property. They're gonna be lower, they're also gonna be flooded. There are springs and wetlands, I'm gonna use that because there are cattails that do grow on Sorenzo's property, I've been back there. So I think drainage and where all this water and groundwater is going to go is of serious concern, because we all know you cannot fill your own property and flood somebody else's out. You can't. It's against the law. We all know this.
And we wouldn't do that to you.
Right. So what's the plan for this? I think that's something that the builder needs to assure us is taken care of in a way that's, you know, going to make Sorenzo's business still viable for him and our farmland still viable for us.
Okay. Well, I hate to put anybody on the spot, but since the speaker here is for the builder, perhaps he can come forward and answer some of these questions for you.
Okay,
Okay?
I have some more questions. Do you want them? Yeah.
Oh, there's that. He's hiding. You're hiding. I see you hiding now. Did you, Andy, do you want to address that?
Yeah, I would like to address that, just that, and then we can talk more. So part of the project, well, first of all, there's very, very little concrete going in on this site. Only a little bit up at the front of the road to host the electrical pads, the electrical equipment. We're talking about a couple of square yards of concrete or so at the most. All the piles, all the solar panels will be mounted on driven steel posts and will not affect the water table. This project is also going to be very closely looked at by the DEC, and we have submitted to the town a SWIP, Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, that is an engineered plan to show that there will not be any additional runoff due to this project. And in a likely sense, there's going to be actually a little less. We have a shallow detention basin that will help control any excess runoff of water. It'll temporarily hold it there. The land under the panels is going to be planted in a native pollinator-friendly grass cover. And by law, we will not be allowed to have the impacts that you're describing on the neighbors. The fact is that, you know, there's just simply not enough equipment to have any sort of drastic impact. And any minor impact that is going to be, we have engineered around through the SWIP, the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan that we've submitted to the town, and which will go to the DEC as well.
So the DEC, has the DEC been notified of this?
Yes.
And have they done like a study of the native species, especially so close to Cicero Swamp? I mean, I can ride my horse from the back of our property to the swamp, which means the endangered rattlesnake could most certainly be there.
Yeah, we've gotten clearance, and we have people that we've hired who are experts in the local flora and fauna, and DEC has been made aware of this project.
But
There's
have
been no
DEC
established.
done a study?
No, they don't do studies on projects like this. They're not in the habit of doing large species studies such as this.
How big an area are you covering?
About 28 acres of 25, 28 acres of the array itself. We have our total project area is 28 acres and change.
Now, where are you planning on hooking this into?
In front of the Warner's house along Peck Road.
Are we getting a break in electric from it?
I would love to be able to say that happens, but that's a very common question. That's unfortunately not the way the electric industry and the economies of power works.
Are we
It
getting
will
a
go-
break in taxes on it?
We will be paying taxes to the local
But
municipalities.
it's the town giving us a break.
Which brings me to another study done by the Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory that has found houses within a half a mile of a solar farm have a resale value less. So if our resale value is now less,
Do we get a tax break?
Do you get a tax break? No, you do not get a tax break. Do people get a reduction in their electric bills? Yes, if they have signed up for it with a particular company that is doing it.
what about?
And
resale
furthermore,
value?
the distributed generation, the fact that we are gonna be generating electricity where it's used instead of in big central power plants will go to support the stability and reliability of the local grid, which could be a benefit to the neighbors in the long term.
Would you want one in your backyard?
Absolutely.
You would.
I would
You'd
do
like to
exactly
sit-
what the Warners did.
Yeah,
And sign up
but
a
would
bond.
you like to
Yes,
sit in your backyard and look at that?
yes,
You would.
yes. Yes.
If they get damaged to
That's
the,
fine. I've been called a liar before, but it is absolutely true that I
How
would-
many have
Okay,
to work?
at this point, the questions ought to be directed to the board.
Okay,
So that we know
Yes.
where you're coming from and what you're looking for. I'm gonna tell you. This planet has got some issues.
yeah,
And we need renewable sources of energy that are not gonna be using all of our fossil fuels that are contaminating everything. And the solar panels and solar farms are something that this board has reviewed in great detail to determine whether or not it's beneficial for the community or not beneficial for the community. And the end result of our investigation, and we investigated this in great detail, is, as a general rule, they're very good for the community. And this particular panel, this particular project, we have reviewed all aspects of it. Our town engineer has examined very carefully regarding the stormwater runoffs and whether it would be impacting any of the neighboring properties. We're looking at all aspects of it, and some people do not like the looks of it. But I see
well,
these,
looks is, I think looks is not the question here. The question is. There are springs, we know there are springs. When it's filled, where is this going to go? Are we going to guarantee it's not going to affect our farmland or the surrounding nursery?
based upon the stormwater prevention plans we've been provided with, it's gonna have a negative impact. That means it's not gonna make the matter any worse, but it may in fact make the matter better.
And if it does make it worse after it's up,
If it makes it worse,
then we're out of luck,
I
right?
believe we'd be in violation of our permits.
you may very well be, and we have to determine, we would have to determine at that point how that could possibly have happened in light of the fact that we have all the engineering specifications that would say it's not gonna be any worse, and it can only be better.
And all solar farms aren't built the same, so there's different ways of building them and attaching them to the ground. This one with the driven piles is actually one of the better ways of doing it. And, you know, based on what I've seen on the grading plans and stuff, the areas that are being graded to make access roads and stuff are bringing that water into a retention situation. So
Pardon me?
collects the water.
I didn't pay attention.
And I wouldn't even call it a pond, it's not big enough. And all this stuff has been designed by firm engineering principles. It's a fairly simple, straightforward thing. But that said, it's very normal to have fear about things that we don't know, especially things that might seem irreversible or insurmountable as far as ways to fix them. And I think that there's a lot of cases where this has been done, and a lot of situations where things have been done and changed and worked on in the future. So I understand that fear. But I think that there's definitely ways, should there be determined to be adverse runoff conditions that are come upon from this, that there's there's a pretty straightforward precedent in how we can go about rectifying that, so.
So you're saying there's no fill going in, it's just piles in the ground? The only way the land is being changed is a roadway and a retention pond.
And then generalized statement, yeah. Would you agree, Andy?
Yes.
That's what we're saying.
Just a clarification.
Okay.
Okay,
Pam, anything further?
no, it sounds like, I am assuming you all have made up your mind already.
No,
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 okay,
That's why we have a hearing tonight.
okay.
We have been listening to the arguments, we've been raising issues. We did not like the layout originally, and we went back to the builder and told them the reasons we didn't like it. And they have modified their plans to make this board happy with what they are doing and how they're doing it. So this is a long process, but this is the last of the process for the public to speak out and tell us if they have objections and what the basis of the objections are. Okay?
okay. And is there any?
I got a question.
Mr. Pesky, I'm gonna get to that hand back there in a second.
This is gonna be directed to the solar person. I am interested to know where the lines are gonna come out, because we own the property on the roadside. There's not three phase on the road. So how is he getting it to the road that has the three phase on?
Andy?
Yeah, National Grid will be rebuilding those lines along Peck Road into three phase, and we'll connect in front of the Warner's house. To the, what is it, about a half mile or so
Okay.
from Manlius Colmer Road over to.
And as far as the road going in, you're not filling anything to make a road in there.
Not filling anything, we're building a gravel road essentially right at the grade, along the western property.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. The hand? Sir, can you tell us who you are and where you live?
I'm John Dockman, my wife is Catherine Dockman. We've lived at 7901 Peck Road for 51 years, 52 years. So I've seen everything going on Peck Road, from the start when it was a hayfield to whatever. But I'm surprised that the town of Manlius doesn't know a little bit more about the water problems, the wetlands you might call it. And I'm gonna address that with you folks. Because here's the problem, when I wanted to put a garage, I was putting a garage in pre-built, and I had the variance and all that stuff. I was told, you can't do that, you're in the wetlands, you can't build above grades. So I'm standing in the office waiting, I said, let's bring out the maps. He brings it 20 minutes later, I get the maps, and guess what? My property wasn't in the wetlands. But I'm gonna tell you something. The lot next to me, over to the next house, and I wish I knew his address. That's all wetlands, okay? And it starts like 10 feet off of my property. And I've seen Peck Road go over Peck Road, water on that piece of property, you know what I mean? I've seen it actually flood over into the next spot. Now, again, we haven't had the snow runoff, but I'm gonna tell you, that is wetlands way out and back.
It is.
That used to be Zion's property right up to our property. Then my next door neighbor bought some of that for her horses. Yeah. And which she doesn't have anymore. Yeah. But again, that property stays wet a lot. And I agree with you. That is part, I mean, the town of Cicero borders right up to you right there. So it can affect part of town of Cicero. And I'm gonna disagree with the lady that's selling the property. First of all, Peck Road's bad enough in some places with you guys not tracking down the junk that's piled up at the houses sometimes. And the other thing, it's really crazy is this house that supposedly this hasn't been approved on.
Sir,
It's all
sir,
bordered.
can I stop you right here?
Yeah.
You keep turning and looking to the audience, and I'm hearing somebody in the gallery keep
Well, I
responding.
was addressing the lady. I'm
Would
sorry.
you be kind enough to just address
Sure,
this?
yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir.
So anyways, this property stays wet. And when I was talking about the houses being bad, the house that she's trying to sell, for some reason, looks like there was a fire in there. It's all been boarded up. Like she expects this whole thing to go through before the hearing. Now, first of all, if this gets approved, once construction starts. And why does this house look like shambles? Somebody's gonna go in there and torch it, I'm sure, if they haven't already. So what's going on there? And if you're gonna put a road in, I'm gonna tell you, I've lived there, I told you, that water runs right off that hill from where the gentleman wants to put his solars. Comes right down in, right to next to my property, right where the wetlands already are. And there's only, we've had the county up there, it's a town of Manlius road, but they sub over to the county subs over to the town of Manlius. But there's only maybe a 12-inch outlet that goes underneath the road to drain this water off. And if we get any more water, it's gonna be on our property, it's gonna be on my neighbor's property, and who knows what. So I think you really need to take a hard look at what you're doing. I am for solar, some people don't like nuclear, but I know we gotta go green. But I think it's gotta go in the spot where it's most likely. Now, if you're familiar, we're up on Taft Road, I think that sounded wet. They put their solar farms right next to the lines, the main line, and they're just tapping right into the lines. I think that's great, because that land can't go anyplace anyways, I mean, you can't build that. So I really think you said you've done some studies, I appreciate your studies. But how many here have lived or been over on Peck Road in the last 50 years? I don't see too many gray haired people that could say that. You have,
Repeatedly.
okay. Did you ever see it flood? Yes, you have.
I have not seen it flood.
It does flood. I wish I would have had some pictures, but it does flood. So I think you need to do a little more work, talk to some people. We didn't even get a notice on this meeting, we saw it, but yet my next door neighbor, just the other side of the wetlands, he did get a notice. So I want to know, he did a public notice, but he got some mailings too. Because he got, who does the mailers? Can you tell me? You don't know, you don't. Do you know, I mean, you must be able to see the adjoining property. And like the lady that owns the property, she said, well, the only people who are gonna see it is me, and I have 2 houses. No, I can name 5 houses, 6 houses. They're gonna see these solar panels. And what happens, I had somebody ask me, what happens if this ever got abandoned? You know what I mean? Like this company goes out of business, they don't have nothing to do with it.
We take a deposit, so we call it a decommissioning deposit.
All
So
right,
that we have sufficient funds to dismantle everything and have everything removed.
okay, because
Any solar projects that we approve has a decommissioning
that's good,
deposit.
because a lot of them don't do that, or I've heard, don't do that, and it sounds like you're on board with that part. You know what I've heard about more? I got neighbors out in back, I've heard them on First Floor Road, shooting guns all the time. I hope they don't stay, and I hope they don't just, maybe they're shooting ski, I've heard pistols go off. I haven't heard about it being killed like that, but I wonder, do people ever take crack shots at these panels and break them? Do you address that, sir?
We're not aware of that, but if you hear guns going off, you are real close to the Madison County line right there.
I'm probably 3/4 wrong.
There's a shooting gallery right next to the town of Manlius and town of Cicero.
Okay, well, we don't want to talk about shooting galleries.
No.
We're talking about the
I
solar.
know, sir, I just want to make sure you're on top of this whole thing, because he's talking about putting a gravel road up there. You know what gravel road needs to be? A dam. I don't care if he's on ground level or not. And that's where that water all trouts from, is right up there.
We are asking for a gravel road so that it's porous, so that the water is going to flow through it. We do not want anything that's going to be impervious. We are specifically looking to make sure the situation gets absolutely no worse and only improved.
Because I don't want to see a road come in there 6 inches or 8 inches above grade. Now it's a dam in the water and it just starts flowing down. Nobody wants water on their property. I don't care who it is,
We,
unless you got.
and we talked to the builder about that.
Sorry, I thank you for addressing my issues, and hopefully you can work with them. okay?
Thank you for coming to speak.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, may I just address one of the part of what was just said?
You may.
Thank you. I just want to make clear, nobody is selling anything, and the house that's in disrepair has nothing to do with this project or the Warners. That is a bank-owned abandoned property as far as I'm aware, and I don't think that any tying of that or any saying that has anything to do with this is correct. We are leasing the property over the long term, and the Warners are going to live there and continue to enjoy the project in their backyard. And just, I want to make it absolutely clear also, which I hear a lot about the water concerns. We are not going to increase the water flow off of the property. We are directing it within the property. First of all, there is going to be essentially no increase in flow regardless, because we're not doing large areas of impervious areas. Again, it's a very small amount of concrete, and we have engineers, I don't think any of us, well, there's one civil engineer, in the room, but this has been designed such that we're not going to increase the flow off the property. We really want to not be doing that and by be doing right by everybody involved. We take that seriously as well. Thank you.
And before we continue, our own engineer has examined everything in great detail, and perhaps he will add a little extra light on this topic, whether the town of Manlius has a concern about the water.
Sure, I mean, the review that we've done of the script indicates that the applicant said that it would be a little bit less than 30 flows than what it is now. The two things that we want to follow up with Andy at some point would be the demolition plan. And we have talked about getting a letter from the Army Corps. I did hear back from the Corps. And what they indicated was, in many instances, just like you said, as long as there's minimal disturbance and it's just the rods being pushed in, then they're fine with that. But if and when we move forward, we just want that.
Yep. So we have been reaching back out to the Corps and DEC to follow up on those under jurisdictional determination for the wetlands that are back there. We've not heard yet. So, but that's still an active pursuit of ours.
Okay.
And
There's a man in the back that had a question.
Someone in the back, okay. I see a woman standing up and down.
Sir.
Hi there,
Hi, how are you?
good. Can you tell us who you are and where you live?
My name is Joanne Sharenza Gagliano, and I am the nursery family that has been spoken of previously, 7841 Petland.
Okay,
So that's a property that a family has owned, we've had a nursery on for, I guess, 50 years now, I hate to say it. Remembering that I was there from a child, yeah. But what I wanted to ask questions about was the visual impact of the solar panels on the property. Even though there aren't buildings toward the back of the property, I wanted to understand what kind of vegetative screening would be provided. Because even though there isn't a building, it is beautiful up there. It's a high point that everybody's talking about when the water runs down either toward the back or toward the front. And when you're working on the property all the time, like our family is, and growing trees and removing trees, it would be beneficial to understand if we could still have that enjoyment with the view. And I'm familiar with solar fields. I'm not against solar project, but I just feel like they need to be fitting to the environment. And that area has always had farm fields, hay fields that were previous before we started planting trees. But there is a wood lot at the back that I think you could blend the trees into and make it feel fitting and not see the visual aspect of the solar panel. So I would like if the applicant could explain a little bit about it. I also didn't know this was going on until recently, so I haven't had a chance to really understand what he's proposed at this point.
Andy, can you talk a little bit about perhaps the height of the, how high they're gonna be and what they will look like?
Sure, yeah, the height, let me check my specs right here. We are proposing a single axis tracking system, so the ones that tilt over the course of the day, they'll face east in the morning, they'll be essentially flat at solar noon, and then they'll go over to the west in the evening. I think the spec height, we have it listed here as a max height, but that was just from the town code. Realistically, the panels we're looking at are around 6.5 feet long. And they'll be mounted with, about 2 to 3 or 4 feet of clearance under the panel. So at their maximum tilt, which is about 60 degrees, we'll still have somewhere between 2 and 4 feet of ground clearance underneath. And then since the panels are about 6 feet, but they're at an angle, it's called 5 feet. So we're talking in the realm of 8 to 9 feet at their highest when they're at their maximum tilts.
And is there vegetation proposed along the property line?
Along the southern property line facing Peck Road, we have vegetation proposed
Not
where.
for the property adjacent.
So again, you're with Twin Oaks, is that correct? Yes, so we have not proposed additional landscape screening up in the northern part, along the western property line adjacent to your property. We were focused on possibly, our focus is on, the residences and where people, tend to live and have more, more long-term view of a potential property.
But it is possible for us to have a property back there with a family over time, so it would be important to look at how you could provide that for the future.
If it's a hypothetical future, maybe at some point we'll build a house. I'm not really sure that it's appropriate for us to take proactive steps to do that when, as you develop, if you are gonna build a residence out there, then
Yeah.
it would be fairly easy to add some trees and landscape screening to
So
that process.
what, I haven't seen the site plan, so how close is the actual panel to the property line?
I believe, let me look at it here, it's on the. 50 feet is our side setback.
So it seems like you could get vegetation along that property line.
There's room for it.
So that's what we're asking for. I'm also a landscape architect and understand these projects very well. And I know that there's oftentimes when these projects have this type of mitigation provided, whether there's a house not living there or not. So I would appreciate it if we could work something out in that thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you speaking for the gentleman in the back?
Yes, that's my father, Joe.
Oh, okay, just want to make sure you take care of it. Yeah.
And anyone else care to speak?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
And nobody's online. We have a motion pending to close the public hearing,
I'll second it.
second by Ann, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Public hearing is hereby closed. Make it a determination. Hold on. Consider that. The developer. Andy.
Sorry, just one, yes, sorry.
I thought on this is holding off on making a decision of this until the next meeting. Couple of things we wanted to look at, perhaps chat with you about.
Okay.
But if you're okay with that, we're gonna hold off until the meeting of the 22nd. May 22nd,
Sure.
and we'll make a determination then, but we will probably be talking to you before that.
Very good.
Okay,
Very
Could I
good.
ask one question of Andy?
of course you can.
The security,
Yeah,
what I read in the decommissioning agreement is it looks like you're gonna post a bond. Is that correct?
yes, that was our proposal at this time.
Is it a 1-year bond?
Do you remember the form of bond? I mean, it's something that obviously the town needs to agree to.
Right.
I honestly, I don't know, I don't remember off the top of my head, whether it's a 1-year or multi-year.
Was that already discussed with the town attorney?
When he stood in for you once or twice and stuff, and I believe we did discuss about that, but we have not had substantive, we wanted to make sure we got a permit before we kicked off substantive decommissioning agreement discussion.
Just so you know, when we go over the special use conditions, our notes are reflecting that the decommissioning plan as approved by the town attorney required a cash deposit be deposited by the applicant.
That's what this board would require as part of the special permit. Then it will be up to the town attorney.
That's consistent with a lot of what we've been doing
Yeah.
relative to,
Cash and escrow instead of a performance bond.
yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, I'll take that back. I can't really comment on that right now, but,
Okay.
yeah, you're, just to be clear, you're saying the intent is that will be the condition,
That is our understanding, yes, sir.
okay? And once we get in with the town attorney, we could have further discussion,
You need to talk to him and see what he says.
okay?
Incidentally, our special use permits, just so you know,
Mhm.
are for a 15-year period.
Yes.
And
I remember
although
that
your
last
intent
year.
may be to keep the project going much longer, you'd have to come back and renew after 15.
Yep.
Or right before 15.
Right, but yeah.
Jamie, maybe you can answer this. My concern always has been, I know we try to get cash deposits, which is better than a bond. My concern with the bonds have always been, what happens if they expire? And not being involved in direct negotiation with decommissioning agreement, it's something that the town board takes care of with the applicant. Is there something that we can put in? I gave you some language that I thought, I don't know if that ever got into the decommissioning agreement, but if it hasn't, and maybe if it has, we should still have some language in our use permit that addresses that. I mean, to the
Yes.
point where we have a pretty big hammer. That would be if that bond ever expires, so does the special use permit, so does the site plan approval. And it should be decommissioned at that point in time, even if it's 2 years into the project.
So I know that this.
Can I just shortcut this and say that I think, having talked with my colleague Juliet from Verizon who's here tonight, that we're likely just gonna do cash.
Okay,
I don't know if that helps. I don't
We're all
know.
set, Richard.
I apologize for the.
for this project,
You're all set.
for this project,
Yes, sir.
I believe we mainly have gotten cash.
I know we've got it for 2. There was another one that they're talking about a bond.
Most of them, although not all.
Yes.
Apologize.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
May 22.
May 22, very good.
Moving right along, the next item on our agenda is the application by Icon Companies. It's on today for public hearing regarding site plan. 4600 Enders Road, Manlius. Tax map number 117.2-01-04. We need to go through secret. And we're gonna wait 30 seconds. Okay, folks, we're gonna continue now.
This is the part 2 of the seeker, a short form. And we'll answer the questions. No or small impact will occur or moderate to large impact may occur. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations?
No.
In fact, they've changed the zone.
They changed the zone,
yeah.
Recently. At that. Will the proposed action result in a change in the use or intensity of use of land?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the quality of the existing community?
No.
Will the proposed action have an impact on environmental characteristics that cause the establishment of a critical environmental area?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure for mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
Small.
I would say small, middle, yeah.
Small. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities?
No.
Will the proposed action impact public or private water supplies or public or private wastewater treatment utilities?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in natural resources such as wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems?
No.
Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No.
All of these impacts of the no or small impact may occur. The chair may entertain a negative declaration.
I would entertain a motion for negative declaration.
Chairman, I move the negative declaration.
Motion made by Ann, second by Arnie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Negative declaration. Madam Secretary, have we properly published notice of this public hearing?
Yes.
Does anyone care to have it read?
No, I'll make a motion to waive the reading.
Second.
Motion by Valerie to waive, second by Richard, all in favor? Aye. Notice of publication is hereby waived. I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion.
I don't know who's first, Ann and Valerie. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is hereby open. Does anyone care to speak regarding the application for 4600 Enders Road? Okay, and before you proceed, sir, just for a matter of public record, we have heard from Cooper McDonald of 911 North Geddes Street, Syracuse, Taylor Horseman of the Saving Face Barbershop, Kelly Tormey, and no address specified, Maura Zazara, no address specified, Robert Doolittle, 4838 Candy Lane, Manlius. Lauren Doolittle, no address specified. Aaron Doolittle, no address specified. Maxwell Moore, no address specified. Kristen Taylor, 8369 Vassar Drive, Manlius. Tim Doolittle, 4614 Red Fox Drive, Manlius. Tom Dellis, 4489 Red Spruce Lane, Manlius. Sawyer Full, 810 Burnett Avenue, Syracuse. Mike Doolittle, no address specified. And all the above correspondents stated that they believe that this project fit right in with the neighborhood and would enhance the neighborhood. I don't believe we received anything in writing adverse. So, sir, did you want to speak?
My name is Bob Lepore, and I live at 7778 Rolling Ridge Drive in Manlius. I'm here representing my mother. She lives at 21 Artisan Way in Manlius, just in the neighborhood just to the east of the proposed project. I'm not here speaking directly opposed to the project. I just have some concerns. I'm a land developer and a builder. You've seen me here before you board. The couple of things that we're concerned about, what I'm concerned about, is that when I look at the proposed site plan, and I read in the paper that they were gonna put a pickleball court in. I don't know if that's true, because some parts on the site plan shows some kind of court.
They did add a pickleball court. Yes.
Okay, so the two things that concern me about the project would be the screening. Although they're adding green space where the parking lot was. There's the neighborhood there that shows on the, directly to the east of the project, Artisan Way. It shows on the site plans that is a framed apartment building, which it is not. It's single family residences along Artisan Way. It's bought up to the proposed project. And we'd like to see a little more screening there. There's some big trees there, they're large trees, old trees. We'd like to see more of a buffer between this project and the existing residential community to the east. That's the one thing we'd like to see. There's townhouses and duplexes along Artisan Way, which are to the east of the project. If we look on page L 1.1 of the proposed site plan, you'll see.
You know, I'm sorry, but that's the page I'm looking at, but I don't see Artisan Way depicted on it.
It's not, it's there. It's Artisan Way is the road to the east. And it's not shown on there, but it shows, it's this frame apartment building on the site plan.
They're up, it would be up at the top of your drawing.
All it shows is right, I think, just the
Okay.
edges of the building, right now.
Yeah, it shows the edge of a frame apartment building, but the Artisan Way is a number of duplexes and townhouses on the cul-de-sac, which this project butts up against.
Okay,
You follow me?
yes, sir.
So we'd like to see some additional screening along this project, buffering those homes, those duplexes that are on the north, on the east side of this project. Yeah, you follow what I'm saying?
We're following you.
Okay, so that's the one thing that we're questioning. The other thing is the pickleball court is noisy. And there's other parts of the country where pickleball courts are being sued because they're loud. It's like a large ping pong table in your backyard. We would like to see the pickleball court move from the this would be the south side over to the northwest corner, away from the single family residence. Either that or eliminate the pickleball court.
you want to see it closer to Andrews Road?
I want to see it away from the single family homes on Artisan Way over towards Andrews Road.
Down here. The single family homes are yes.
Okay,
Those are the two things that I'm commenting on this project. We are not opposed to this project. We just we'd like to see these recommendations added to the
okay.
project.
And we can definitely talk to the builder about that. We were kind of amazed that the builder was gonna remove so much tarvia from the property and turn it back into green space.
We like that. We'd like to see a little bit more low, vegetation covering, just buffering those single family residences on Artisan Way.
Okay, so the two issues that you're looking for is some plantings across the way.
Some more buffering between those homes on to the east, and the pickleball court's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be loud and it's gonna be an issue for the neighbors who live there now.
Okay, you're talking to a guy who has no idea what a pickleball.
Well, I don't play it, but I know of people who do.
So it's the ball on the court, not the people being excited, and rowdy.
Well, it could be both, I don't know, but the ball on the court can be loud.
I know it's really
Pickleball can be
popular, but
loud.
I've not seen it played. I know it's real popular.
Is there a time of day?
Very hard. And it's right in my backyard.
Okay.
My house is right up there.
Okay, ma'am, since you're talking, can you identify who you are?
I'm Judy Sephora.
That's my mother.
His mother.
Okay,
Mother.
I know I will submit this for as evidence of lawsuits on pickleball courts in Risley, Massachusetts.
pickleball lawsuits. I have to read that one.
There you go. Thank you for your time.
Did anyone else care to speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Dennis Hennessy and I live at 4636 Glencliff Road in Manlius. I'm here to support this project. I'm thrilled that we're getting some additional housing, be it a very small amount of housing. But when you look at the reuse of this property and the way that they're doing it, I love that they're adding more green space. I love the fact that we have a place in Manlius that people who might live there, who are maybe getting older, don't want to leave this area. There's a lot of amenities in this area. A lot of people live there all their lives. So I'm very much in favor of it. I've seen the site plans. I've talked to the developer. I'm trying to convince a family member to think about it. So, but I do also want to address the quote pickleball concern. It's less than a wiffle ball. That's what it's less than tennis. They've taken away tarvia, made green space. And okay, it butts the property. It's still just like the grass out here. And there's very few people. We're not talking 10 people that might live there. Okay, my wife plays pickleball. Okay, I've watched it play. There's a lawsuit over pickleball. Then I think that's stretching it a little bit. Okay, but again, I'm very much in favor of this and I appreciate the town taking time to let me speak.
Thank you, sir. Do we have anyone online?
No.
We have no one online.
Make motion.
Yes, ma'am?
Nancy?
You may. Can you tell us who you are and where you're from?
I will. My name is Mary Pat Oliver. I live at 3 Handgun Way in Manlius, which is in fact part of the Settlers Village community that abuts this property. I'm president of the Settlers Village Homeowners Association. So I'm here tonight not only as a resident, a neighbor of this property, but also on behalf of the board who has met to review this plan. We are greatly relieved that the existing structure, the Eastern Hills Bible Church, will remain, will be refurbished, renovated, repurposed. We like that very much. We're also very pleased that the site plan, which a copy of which I was given by Mr. Cesara, indicates that, and he had, in fact, has met with several of the board members and explained that he would be removing the tarvia, the parking lot, a large parking lot, which, by the way, this is kind of an aside, is quite popular with the families, I assume, who park there for the games that are being played in the fields across the street next to the school. So you just need to be aware of that. But in any event, because that tarvia is coming up and being replaced with green space, that we find very reassuring. The question that was raised about additional plantings, that also came up in our discussions. I don't know if that, how far Mr. Cesaro has gotten in or considering plantings along that line that abuts Artisan Way, but we would encourage that. So I think the general consensus is it's a very good use of the existing property, and we support it.
Okay, thank you for coming. Anyone else care to speak?
I'll speak real quick if that's all right. I have to respond to a couple of the items.
Mr. Cesara, if you would like to address them, you may.
Okay, yeah, no. So I'm Grazi Cesar, I'm the applicant. Thank you to everyone who showed up and talked about it.
Yes.
I would like to point out, Mary Pat and a few other board members were nice enough to meet me on the site. The property line is right here, and it's currently lined with a handful of big trees. And there's also a fence there, but as we discussed and pointed out, we are pulling back about 65 feet. And these colored trees here are in fact new plantings, so we can throw a few extra plants in there, we're happy to do so. We've got no problem with that. We want to be good neighbors. I think it's going to be a tremendous increase in privacy, what it is. And in terms of the pickleball court, that was not in our initial plans, but feedback from the board was add some kind of recreational element to it, so we did. I don't believe it's too loud. My parents play pickleball at their house all the time. If we move to the other side, there's a wellness center that does breathing exercises and meditations there. So if it in fact didn't make noise, I'm sure neither one would want it on their side. I don't think it's going to be a nuisance, but we manage 200 apartments in the area. Self-managed, we have common areas, we have rooftops, and if put times and rules in place, I don't have any issue with waking up to the ping pong noise or trying to fall asleep to it. So we'll professionally manage it. We'll work through it. We'll make sure it's as peaceful as possible. But that's all I've got. If anyone's got other questions, I'm happy to answer. But thank you for anyone who showed up.
Thank you, sir. I'm just finding it interesting, the pickleball lawsuit. Does anyone else care to speak? Hearing no one.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion by Richard to close, second by Ann, all in favor? Aye. Public hearing is hereby closed.
I have a question regarding the letters from the police or from the fire chief
Yes,
regarding the parking, the
Access.
I saw that he was concerned about the removal of so much tarvia that he would personally prefer to have tarvia all the way around the building to have 360 degrees. But he also stated that that was his preference and that what is in the plans, he could get by with, if I understood his opinion correctly.
What it sounded like.
Anyone else have a comment about the fire chief and his thought?
He's saying that they don't meet. The first current modifications to the site entrance and parking area do not meet requirements.
That's from Tom, that's not from the fire chief.
So it's be superseded by.
Was there a letter prior to the clarification letter?
There was an email sent, yes, from the fire chief and the board.
Open. Do you have that?
Got the fire's chief, and my recollection was that he had said that, although he would prefer the 360-degree access around the building, that would be satisfied with what they've got, that the aerial could reach all aspects of it. This is our own code enforcement officer.
Yeah.
Doug, did you have a chance to see this?
I didn't see this evening.
This just came, so I haven't had a chance to look at
No.
it.
Yeah, she did, I mean, she had it out when we got in, but I think it's timely.
Yeah, it's on, I mean, maybe, Jeremy. could go over this. Yeah.
Yeah, we can, actually, we did get a copy last week, and I think we can.
Today.
We can, address the, I guess it would be appendix D of the fire code.
This one.
Oh, yeah, but we were aware of the conditions, fire access condition last week. So we can, put a hammerhead turnaround in.
Is that the one you want to do?
Yeah, we're gonna do the, hammerhead turnaround. This is the driveway coming in.
You're just gonna have it be like church, right, or something?
Well, or pavement could be, it's paved now, but we can, have this hammerhead come in. But it does meet the requirements of.
Where's the building?
The building is down here. This was just a little snippet. It's right here. This is the driveway coming in. Okay. We don't affect any of the pavement, or the parking, or any of the lighting. It's just really. We could. Sure, we can do that. But this is what we were looking at doing was hammerhead turnaround. Here's the driveway coming in, the building's here. This is the upper parking lot. And we have the 70 by 70 turnaround.
Well, if you're gonna be
And that meets the appendix D of our.
amending the plan by adding that in, it sounds like Mr. Cesare is okay with adding some additional planting screening, separating the apartment complex next door with it. And if I read the pickleball lawsuit correctly, the pickleball issue is the plastic ball, when it hits, it makes a boinging sound that people hear throughout their homes. Perhaps you might want a second thought, the pickleball.
Well, we are over 150 feet from the nearest home with that pickleball court. And there's vegetation between the court and.
Is there no vegetation that would demonstrate the sound? I guess we're-
Maybe this be another. This is the pickleball. It's too far away.
There's a word they know about it.
Oh, the other thing regarding pickleball, we can use special paddles that deaden the sound. There are balls that deaden the sound, and then we're looking at this plastic grid surfacing that will also deaden the sound. It won't be pavement, it's a plastic tile that goes on the court. They come colored.
You know, I think that is probably would suffice. Does anyone else have a concern about this pickleball court?
I don't know anything about it.
I'm looking at the distance that it is from that adjoining neighborhood, and it's a significant distance.
Set up a court and go out there and play it and see.
It's a solid wood racket with a wiffle ball, plastic wiffle
Well,
ball. That's what
if he's offering mitigation,
Yeah.
if it's put on the plan,
Mhm.
on a note on the plan, because you're gonna make those other two modifications, then that would seem
That should take-
appropriate
that should take care of
modification.
it.
I like the idea of restricting the hours too. From a property management point of view, I think that could alleviate a lot of the issues.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that can be added to the note.
Are you okay restricting the hours so that beyond a certain hour?
Put lights on it.
Downtown. There's a part of this whole. Flight hours.
In light of the hammerhead being added on, and the additional vegetation being planted. And perhaps a note about limiting the hours on the pickleball court. Can we get this all in so that we can make a final determination and make a ruling on this on May 22nd?
Question for you, I don't know if this is atypical or not, considering the turnaround is pretty minor, there's a template for it. Is it possible to get a conditional approval pending putting that note on there and showing the turnaround?
I'd actually like to see the turnaround on the plan,
I
the
would too.
location of it, and it's striping is gonna be striped to prevent people from parking in it. It's just a little bit more of the details of how the landscaping might work around that, you know. I mean, no, it's not complicated. I'd just like to see the final, you know, how that gets worked in. That could be conditional, but that's not
Yeah,
really
that's
my.
question.
We have had a policy of not giving a conditional approval. We would rather do a final approval and see and make sure that what we're seeing is what we get.
I mean, you might reorient that light pole, tighten it up, or if that's existing, you might wanna leave it, you know, I'm not really sure what we wanna do. But
You have to run it by the fire chief.
We ran it by him already.
if it meets code, what he's
And if
proposing.
it meets code now with the hammerhead,
Yeah,
I don't see we need to go back to the fire chief again.
can you play pickleball on the hammerhead turnaround there? Right?
That'd be dangerous.
Okay. I will.
Okay, May 22nd. Final determination. And kindly get the plans in early enough that we're gonna have time to just confirm and make sure that that is what we expected. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is an application by Woodland Hills Subdivision.
Yes, everyone's leaving.
I thought they were all here for you. I thought
You're here for pickleball. It got canceled.
Just make sure you don't hear
I'm
pickleball.
not gonna talk, we aren't doing pickleball, but I was skeptical of it. And I play a lot of tennis and I play pickleball. It is fun.
So
It does have a noise too. You're right. It's big out west. And Florida.
So what we have today is, it's called a third presentation on a 16-lot subdivision known as 5280 Hogue Lane, Fayetteville. It's all under one tax map number 104-1-39.2. We asked that be put on today because you've made some significant changes in what had been here previously. And we were hoping you might talk to us a little bit about it.
I appreciate you taking the time to have us. We were here a number of months ago. We talked about, at our first meeting, we had talked about a cluster plan. That was a continuation for those who weren't on the board or here. That was a discussion a number of years ago. But it's essentially a 30-acre single family home on a 30-acre site. It's zoned RA. We started, like I said, with the cluster plan, and then we presented, generally, we presented a 16-lot residential subdivision. The last meeting, I was here with Scott Freeman, Arizona, Joe Mueller was here as well. And we presented generally the site plan. We talked a lot about site work, cut fill, stormwater management, but we really didn't have the meat on the bones. But we wanted to see if we were going in the right direction. So that's where we left it off. We walked away, we felt at that meeting, it seemed like we were going in a positive direction with the 16-lot residential subdivision, but we understood we had to do our homework. So today, we're giving you the homework that we did. It's a lot to do with the stormwater, the supporting documents with regard to traffic, what we've done for site work, and trying to give you guys more detail that obviously you need to have us go even further. Generally, I'll talk generally, but Scott can add a lot more detail and Rudy if necessary as well. It's essentially, we're proposing 16 lots. The minimum 0.9 acres up to over 3.5 acres. That's consistent with what we talked about previously. It's gonna be serviced by public water and sewer. I think we have paperwork, at least with regard to water. The price point that we were talking about are $750,000 homes or more. There will be a homeowners association that will be formed in accordance with New York law. There's, I believe, a HOA lot on the plan that will deal with the stormwater detention basin and the handling of that, and we'll form that in accordance with New York law, like I said, and get Attorney General approval and provide that to the board if necessary, whatever they need with regard to that when we start that process. I think really, you want to talk, Scott, about a little more detail about the plan and where we're going with the subdivision plan that we provided to you guys.
Because obviously, first and foremost, we reduced the impacts of the project, reducing the lot count down to 15. So we came out of the cluster zone. Now we're in the compliant within the zone area. So we reduced stormwater impacts, obviously, with that reduction. The road network remains essentially the same. However, the impact, the reduction in less roof area, less driveways. Initially, I don't think the board ever had a chance to review our initial earthwork calculations, but we spent a lot of time in Joe Mullen's office. Unfortunately, he was unable to be here tonight, but we've actually reduced the on-site earthwork by about 10 to 15%. So there's less cuts and fills on site.
I'm seeing by more than 50%.
A reduction in overall earthwork.
From what you had several years ago.
Initially, yeah, but yeah, what's happening now is you have fewer lots, so it's easier to blend the grades. And actually, the area of disturbance is similar, but the cuts for the road are essentially the same, but the cuts on the lots. If a homeowner came in and they wanted to build a 2-story building with a garage and they wanted to push their house off to one side of the lot, they could have more of a wooded area, but with residential design, we can't call out the exact area for trees to go, trees to stay. But we're a lot closer to existing grade, and there's a lot more potential for homeowners to have the flexibility to save some natural areas within their site.
Okay. Scott, I'm seeing a couple of problem issues.
Sure.
If you don't mind me just bringing them up.
Yep, that's what we're here for.
Number one, your big layout, the layout plan on L400 doesn't have any building envelopes on it. Whereas your earlier plan, a few days earlier, L705 does have building envelopes.
I think the building envelopes are on here, Joe. I wouldn't agree with them, but it looks like they have the building.
They're not on all the lots. They're not on all the lots.
So just a point of reference, I didn't get to it in the presentation. We also have a document provided by our surveyor that has the you have the surveyor from the surveyor document, the plat plan. It's a preliminary plat plan. It's not a final, but we had hired find it.
They have the envelopes, but that's the potential house locations.
Where's the envelopes on
I think
these?
it says dotted.
The other. Yeah, they have the building envelopes, but on lot 3, I disagree with it. But there were distinct drainage easements that were on a previous plan that are no longer on this.
Yeah, like I said, we changed the grading based on the reduction of people here. The grading, we're able to do it without some of those easements. The easements are still on there.
Yeah, they're shown on the survey that was done this in April.
Yep.
I'm looking at L400.
That's an old
This is old.
date on it, because this is last
July
July.
29.
This is from the previous commission.
Okay, so get rid of this.
Some of it might be true still, but that's what he can explain.
Yeah, but I think if we go to the surveyor document, we could look at
This is what we got in.
right.
These are from our previous
Right.
September
What's the date on that?
This is what was in our submission for this meeting.
April 14th.
And it is showing some of the drainage and stuff
Okay.
that you're talking about, but this is not showing the building.
Right.
Building
And see, I-
on this one.
Like on lot 3,
Yes,
the building envelope on the other plan showed it coming back here.
right.
And I think what you have are 2 building envelopes, one back here. What's used, I couldn't tell you, this doesn't have topo on it, so it may be impractical, that's its product. But
You're talking about this building.
It's a drainage easement.
That's a drainage easement that bisects
Correct.
the lot.
Correct.
It's proposed, right?
And we have buffer areas off of drainage easements. So you've got a building envelope here and one back here, because you can't build on the whole thing because there's buffers on that easement.
Right, we have no intent.
You
to
wouldn't
build
get
back
anything
there.
in back here.
There's no
You
design.
wouldn't, you
intent.
wouldn't fit, it would have to come right up tight to the front.
Okay, so
This is just a drainage that doesn't divide.
this, forget this map then.
Well, this gives you an idea of some of the layers that aren't turned on the survey, because this is their site plan and this is the surveyor's.
Okay. So we don't have a site plan.
Not
No,
exactly.
it's not, we're doing subdivision, we're not doing that.
Well, I'm sorry, we don't have a subdivision.
We have,
Yeah, we haven't started.
yeah, that's this one, that's dated April 26th.
Board sequence.
What do I have?
It's on.
Okay, I
If
guess,
you have a current one, I mean. we could put it up. If you look in the cut and fill document
Yes.
too, there's
Oh,
your small one that you can see.
Yeah, that's-
It was,
right,
I think it was, there were 2 submittals for this. And the latest submittal had 4 sequence for April 14, 2023 survey.
Yeah, yeah.
Good point, Rich, so we can talk to the surveyor, make it clear that he get the setbacks on the front of the lot. It's not our design intent to do anything in the back of the lot.
okay, all right.
And I understand where you're coming from.
And I guess it had the same comment on lot 4. And
It's very, it's slope prohibitive. There's no way to get up there.
I saw that on the other total.
Yeah,
that
but legally, I get it.
You wouldn't be able to build that.
No, it's pretty steep, yeah. And we have a buffer on
Yep.
steep slope.
And I mean, while it's not the survey, a lot of the information is contained. So you
Okay.
can, until they get to that part of the process, you can read between the lines to
Okay.
eliminate some of those issues.
Yeah, to Rich's point, you are correct. This is the most recent plan. This is that lot 3 you're talking about. This is the setback line.
Yep.
And we simply did an offset, but the drainage line is here, the drainage easement. So to your point, there's a setback off the 20, like the drainage easement. Right, you have a setback there, and there's your building envelope. So that's a good point. We need to update on our layout plan, and we'll certainly pass that on to the surveyor.
And I guess the same time it will be on lot
I
4
don't see
too.
where the building.
And I saw a wetlands document that was an updated wetlands. Is lot 9 still substantially wetlands or?
Unfortunately, this is a tough one to explain. We don't have that fully answered. Our wetland delineator went out there and said that it doesn't meet the criteria of a wetland. Took a closer look at it. When we did it years ago, we had somebody do it. It was at the end of March, all the vegetation, everything it wasn't fully assessed. We paid a little more money. We got a full delineation, and the way the process works is that our wetland biologist goes out there and makes a call and delineates it, but now it needs to be verified by the Army Corps of Engineers, and we can't expedite that process, so we're painfully checking in with them. It's been what, 40 days, 30 days that we've reached out to them. Our wetland biologist, I sound like a salesman of something you don't want to buy right now, but this is the God's honest truth. We're on her, and she's gonna be responding soon. She has friends in Army Corps, and she says that her contact at Army Corps says this is not a wetland, it's an
Okay.
what's the word? It's an unmanaged waterway.
It's a tough time of year.
It is, especially when you've had an epic amount of water, everything looks like a
Well, and
well.
everybody wants their information.
Army Corps, just so you know, it's not just this project, it's several projects. We got one that's trying to get expedited by
everyone at the county, right up to Ryan McMahon, and the Army Corps is 6 weeks out and told us, sorry. You
And they
know,
just
our
said-
local officers will get to it when they get to us.
And there's 7 people in the region, 3 retired, and they're having a hard time finding a place. It's tough business right now.
But right now, this plan is presented as if you're gonna get that.
Correct, and it does, it doesn't, our design intent is not to touch it until we get over that hurdle. It's been 30 days, I would imagine within the next 4 weeks, we'll have a response. That was the only item on the request list that we've unable to address.
Did you look at the 127.19 design standards for lots that talk about no closer than, 25 feet to slopes of 25%, no closer than 25 feet to the 100 buffer land of wetlands, the building setbacks?
Yeah, we have on the plat plan, we have the front yard setback, I believe it's 150 feet minimum, the 40,000 square foot minimum lot.
No, I'm talking about 127.19. Just make sure you take a look at it, because that's the one that talks about how close you can build to slopes, floodplains, easements, etc.
Yeah, we have on our grading plan, we have the one on 4.1 slope within the building envelope, 25 feet away from all of the houses.
Now, I will say, just to remind the board, that the planning board can waive these requirements if there is some reason why any particular one of these can't be met, then come in and make your case about it. But,
They're not here for that right now, right?
well, we're trying to give them guidance about
Oh, okay.
everything.
For the coming,
Right,
okay.
That's the
We don't have a great.
You're talking about the buffers,
right.
not setbacks, which we have to visit.
Right.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Are you guys following me on that?
Yeah,
But we think we're okay.
Okay, so,
I think we.
When we had the 21 lot,
mhm,
I'll be the truth, Rita and I sweat that plan. It was a challenging plan. When it came to 15, it was a relief, because a lot of things
sure.
were flattened out. We had more room.
Mhm.
This is a much easier plan to construct. There's a lot of space between the houses. I think if we were off by 1 or 2 slopes, Doug, Rudy and I could work something out. I mean, one thing we think it's time to do it, it's time to do it, but we came up with a plan there. They have a nice guideline there.
Mhm.
If you have a boulder wall that you need to mitigate slopes, that if you use a wall that's less than 3 feet high, you don't need it to be engineered, and you could maintain your 1-on-4 slopes, do it like flatter sites as well. And if you have a walkout or a slope or a wall that exceeds 3 feet, then it has to be engineered and it'll be subject to town review. But right now, we're showing 1-on-4 slopes all around the building envelope. There's not one anticipated retaining wall anywhere on the site right now. To protect the wetlands, there were a series of walls.
Right, I
There's
get
no
that,
wall,
but,
there's no walls in this plan, and the slopes we believe are compliant.
but no closer than 25 feet to a recorded easement. Those are some of the other, I'm just saying, look at all of them,
Right.
okay? And then, because you're here for constructive, right?
Yeah,
Criticism, try to move forward. So look at those, and if they're not
We'll
gonna
look at
work, let's have a discussion. So the engineer can look at it and say, board, this is a no big deal thing. Might not be 25, but it's 20. That's okay.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jamie. There's lots 10, 11, what is it? The pond overflow, 8, 9 is good. Between 9, 10, and 11, there is an easement at maybe 15 feet. But the only reason it's there is because, I'll just explain to you in engineering terms. You have a house here, and a house here, and we put a drainage easement between the houses because we don't want, all the homes will have a low point constructed between the homes. But where you're very close, we want to ensure that the drainage swale is installed properly, number one, and number two, we're pushing the water to the front of the site, which is uncommon. Rudy, help me out here if I go out of bounds. We didn't want to go to the back of the site because we went to the back of the site, we'd be putting more water off site and on the neighbor's property. So by tipping it into the site more, we're adding the easement. Traditionally, that easement wouldn't even be there. But to be more sensitive to the Burns property, the Britton property, those properties, we're taking the water towards the front of the house.
Gotta get the time to make it to the time for stormwater requirements.
We'll look at it.
Yeah, so, yeah, next time just come in with that and before you come, if there's like, hey, there's 3 problem areas, we think it's okay, then we'll bring them up to the engineer and. You know,
I think
he'll,
that's a good point.
it's always gonna be a reasonable approach. This is,
I think the intent, Amy, is to stay away from any of that, but
Well,
if we do have one, we'll ask for it.
again, that's
We'll find
that's
out.
what we're looking at.
The other side of the coin is if you want to take the letter of the law literal, our developer builder can rotate the house, but we think it's better to get a house where you get the full facade facing the street with a compromise, but if it was real important to you, we could rotate the house and we're really close and
I
the
mean,
watershed.
it's all about the envelope.
Right,
because
you're
the-
right.
Right,
It's all about the envelope.
that's all we care about.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll
Rotate
get
the
those
house all year.
definitions down. We go through that.
I mean, it's different than the cluster, where there's a lot more control over where exactly the houses are. And a lot of the really specific things that we're concerned in the cluster are not a concern here. We just have to follow the code. So that's.
We just violated Scott, just have to call.
Yeah, those are 3 lots. No, that's.
No, I wanted-
No problem.
I wanted to double check with you, because 6 months ago, you gave us a proposed plan that had 2 ponds. You had the wet pond and you had an overflow storage pond.
That's still in there.
Well, it's not on the April one. The one you just gave us has only 1 pond again now.
Not a grading plan.
On the grading plan.
Okay, so it should be, so your subdivision plan should match your grading plan, right? Because whatever we
So we have,
approve.
I see what you're saying, the overflow
Right.
pond we
Yeah.
can put on here by the
Right.
surveyor. So the surveyor, we'll talk to the surveyor about that.
Yeah.
I think you gotta double check a lot of your drawings, because when we went through it a couple of times, there were a lot of them didn't.
And you've
they
changed,
didn't get caught.
you've changed the lot lines, and most particularly, I'm looking at lots 11 and 10.
And 9.
11, 10, and 9. And the lines have changed significantly
From the July 29, 2022
to April.
grading plan, just to make sure that it matches.
What were we talking, I forget what the requirement was with the HOA lot with the detention pond on it. Weren't we saying that there has to be access to that, because I don't see.
That's the access easement, 40-foot wide access drainage easement.
You have a chain link fence
Oh,
around it.
access and drain, okay.
Yeah.
There's an access
So
gate.
that road, okay.
Is the reason that you've got an easement there as opposed to making that part of the HOA lot simply because it would take
Yeah.
away from road frontage?
I guess we have the property, we have a lot of property lines where you have an easement, 10 foot on one property, 10 foot on the other. We've been consistent throughout.
Okay, I guess what I'm saying is why not just extend that right to the roadway
Mhm.
unless you're, like, I'm looking at this now, it's 100 feet of frontage on lot 8. If you took that out of lot 8, you might be under the 150 feet of frontage.
Right.
So is that the reason that it's an easement as opposed to just extending that lot to the roadway?
Well, the base, I guess the way
Something
we,
to look at. I don't
yeah,
know.
the way we looked at it is the limit line around the pond is the area of concern. That's where the fence is.
Yep.
And a drainage easement is a conveyance of water to the basin. And the maintenance easement is a conveyance to the basin. So this is how we do them on other projects. If there's
Okay.
something in the code.
Well, it's like,
I think you get to the same spot.
Yeah,
but that's all on lot 9, like. there's a
we
road
split, we
on-
put the drainage easement on lot 8, and then we put the maintenance easement on lot 9.
So like they'll have a road on their property?
It's actually, it's just a grassed way. The town has the right
Oh, it's
to
right.
drive across the grass. It's a flatter
Yeah.
grass
Okay.
way.
Not
But
the
then
town,
There's.
but the.
Yeah.
But,
We're not maintaining.
Yeah.
while we're talking about that. The town would like such an easement,
Absolutely.
just in case.
Mhm.
Well, we could,
You know,
We usually put that in the declaration,
Okay,
give the town the benefit, it's required, there's a stormwater maintenance agreement built up. We'll put it in there, yeah.
So I have a couple questions, just because I did read the old meeting minutes I'm new this year, so I've read the old meeting minutes and stuff from when y'all came before, and I was a little bit confused about. We got a survey, but then I'm looking back at the old grading plan and not knowing if I'm missing stuff in between or losing it in translation, and just what we're talking about now, I have a couple of questions. One, are we obligated to have a chain link fence around these?
No.
Because
That
I
was
think that brings up,
It's a
from
board
my personal
discussion.
experience, that's not always a good idea. And we can talk about that, you know,
We're not mandated.
at some point, but that creates a whole other level of different kinds of concerns that I think we need to be really careful about. And then if you look, I just was looking at this as we've been talking about it, but seeing the way that this access and drainage easement is here between lots 8 and 9, there's a stormwater pipe that's discharging from the drainage system in the road is discharging onto lot number 8. But that's not within the easement. And so sometimes what happens is that those flared end sections or whatever they're gonna be don't get maintained properly. Like, does that mean the homeowner is gonna be responsible for keeping that clear? That should maybe.
We could,
You know,
I see your point and.
Little
this is-
stuff, little stuff.
No, well, it's a good point. This is version 7.0. We'll extend the pipe.
So maybe
It makes sense. I wouldn't want to have an open pipe.
who's maintaining
No,
that?
that's a great
Weeds
point.
gonna grow up around it, and then who's maintaining
And the other
that?
point is when
What's it
the
made out
water,
of?
how do you fence that? You got a ravine going under a fence. So
I have
Yeah, we'll extend that.
concerns about fencing detention ponds.
Well, the fencing, we started out without a fence and it was I don't know how we landed there, but
And that's why I'm not sure of the
I don't
history of it, or
remember.
if there's a code thing, but it's something maybe we take into consideration.
because
because-
DEC
and I have a lot
doesn't
of
require them.
And there's a lot of reasons.
There's a few around, in Skinny Atlas, there's a subdivision out there and they did one, but they did split rail. They didn't do just because they were talking about.
That's
snowmobilers
better,
and other
that's
stuff.
better, but
There's Walmart has one. Yep, and Walmart has one up in Cicero. They're ugly, they collect garbage. The DEC doesn't like them. or-
it's an attractive nuisance too.
They
And
aren't
if
required.
there were to be, somebody were to get in the pond, it takes longer for rescue people to get to them.
There's a line.
There's a lot of reasons
There's a
why.
long time going.
I'm not
Big
crazy
deal.
about fences.
I county over there.
Yeah, so
Because somebody got in,
can't get out,
they couldn't get out.
The theory
And the
is.
parents watched them die.
can't get
The
home.
Kids can get in. and
The theory is, from the DEC's perspective, at least what I've been told, and Doug can back me up. What I've been told is that the safety aquatic bench / safety bench that's in there is at a grade so that there's not more than a foot of water 10 feet in, so fall in there and you can get out.
Yeah.
We typically don't have fences around them, they're not mandated in the manual.
Yeah.
For reasons like that, and most of places we do them in, and I'm sure Doug uses this same type of thing, they don't have them, but there is
Yeah.
places that,
I think that
We'll give you one.
the cons outweigh the pros as far as the fence goes, but it's obviously a conversation for the board.
So one question, as long as you're here, right? The HOA lot doesn't have road frontage.
Yeah, goes into that whole business where 8 and 9 are, and I don't wanna overspeak too much because I'm not familiar with the plan that well.
Well, as long as there's an appropriate access easement that runs to the benefit of the town. And it would, I think it would be okay with an HOA. With the appropriate.
Because it's not.
Yeah.
available.
Right.
Was it a frontage issue?
Yeah, but you mark it as unbuildable.
Yeah, it's not.
No one's ever gonna.
That would solve the
No,
problem.
but it comes into like maintenance and
Mhm.
who takes care of it and who owns it.
How
and-
we've always done subdivisions with drainage easements or access easements, whatever, there's several of those, it's the HOA's responsibility to maintain it. And the town also has an access easement, so that if they don't maintain it, we do it and charge them back.
No, I understand.
Well, that's how we've done it in the past.
It's just about sometimes some of the details and making it cleaner and neater for the long run, not about like who does what from an expectation standpoint, but about how do these things
Specifications.
actually end up working in the real world later on down the road. No one's these lines aren't gonna be on the ground out there, so people don't always. It needs to be visually obvious.
But one thing we do with in a lot of our other towns is we call for a concrete monument, so at least it's findable. If you didn't have to send somebody out there and you didn't have a fence, you could have not just a wooden stake that gets knocked over.
Right.
Not a metal pin in the ground, but an actual, they're like a 4x4,
Right.
They are required.
and they're required, so that's how you would locate it.
And I some of my comments might be premature because I have not reviewed the grading plan along top of this, and I think that you just probably have gotten to that point yet, that.
But we would put that, we're not gonna put the monument on.
No, I
all of our
mean,
drawings, But we'll make sure that it's
seeing-
noted, it needs to be noted on this, the plat plan, that's,
so are you coming back with a full set? What's the plan?
well, I'll state the team's understanding is we wanted to show that we were serious about the project and we wanted to address the comments put forth, and I think we got 8 out of 9, it's pretty good math. We're gonna keep working on the wetland person, the building envelope, adjustment of the pipe, double checking the section of code that Jamie mentioned. The other things, we're gonna sharpen our pencils and clean it up. And we're gonna sit down with our surveyor, sorry.
These are 2, 1 foot, 1 foot.
Two footers, it's 1 on 4, these are 1 on 4.1 slopes. Oh, and here at the masonry, what's the
Probably
1 on 3 in the basement, right? 1 on 3 on the outside, 1 on 4 on the inside. That's per New York State.
That's not that. We could drive it on that.
Can you tell me how don't tell me, but tell Doug, how the plan of the ponds, the way they were before is different now? Summary, okay.
Let me help them out.
No, tell us all the juicy stuff.
But, and the point being, this is a new project. We're supposed to look at it new, but still we're informed by what happened before.
Yeah.
For
So-
those of us who are.
So the 10,000 feet is, you got a pre-number runoff, and you got a post-number runoff. You got to detain what's in between and then treat the water quality volume and all the other requirements that are in the manual. This pond does that. It's bigger than it really needs to be, just because of some of the geometrics that the manual spells out. It treats a lot more than you have to treat. And then we only had the one pond to the, call it right on the plan. It says wet pond right in the middle of it. So that was what we started with. We only had that. That does everything, treats everything. It's got the side slopes and everything else that's required by the manual. We added for this submission, we calling it this submission, this new project, we added a lower area down at the base of the hill that's sized equivalent to what the standing water in the pond is, so that if that were ever to overflow or breach or something funky goes on there and water comes out of it that's not supposed to, this depression down at the lower end will house that, hold it, and let it bleed out over time.
So you've got 100% safety valve.
Correct, that's correct.
And
Which
how
was
big
not
is
there
this pond?
before.
It was not there in the last, in any other version of this project you've seen in the past, it was not there.
But it's not on this,
It is on this.
on the survey.
Oh,
Not
right,
on
when
the
you
survey.
put it
Not on the
Yeah,
survey.
that's, we have to add that to the
But it's
survey.
in that, it's supposed to be in that.
How deep
HOA.
is the pond?
The pond is, the standing water in the pond is 6 feet,
6, oh, okay.
Is that,
which is required.
you have that overflow because the embankment is in fill?
Yes. Every pond gets an emergency overflow, but yes.
Right, but that
that's-
extra, I wondered if that.
Yes,
was
the
why.
one at the bottom is there because of that,
Yeah.
because you've got an embankment there.
It's just good design.
And the way we're we was able to put that extra safety valve in there was because we sat down with Tom and we talked about, hey, if we can get over the wetland thing and get this thing, let's go out and get another second opinion, and if we can get this thing off the table, we could do more, so.
It does a little more than
Yeah.
just ours, it gives us a safety for it's redundant, right? So it's not necessary, but it's redundant, it's duplicate of the basin stormwater management facility we're proposing. But it's also kind of in the way of some runoff that comes from adjacent property that's uncontrolled. So that wetland area he's talking about that we've been toggling with the US Army Corps back and forth about, that takes water from the adjacent property that's uncontrolled and unmitigated in any way. So it just comes rushing in through a pipe and onto our property. And so this, we've taken the choke point of that and created some storage behind it so that the property next door also gets some benefit from this depression.
Is that the master property?
Yeah, you're gonna ask me that. Yeah, it's massive.
It's, that's where it comes down through that
Yes.
cul-de-sac, and it's direct discharge
Right.
past our site,
yeah.
and if there's a downstream problem,
Right.
it'll be perceived that it's our project. But putting in this extra area that Rudy's designed,
Redundant space. Yeah.
it's gonna slow it
So,
down.
so you've got two things going on here that benefit the community. One is our stormwater management facility reduces what we create by everything that we create, plus a little more. So we've got some overage on our end, plus we create this redundant that provides a safety valve, like you said, for the pond that we're building, plus additional storage so that if anything comes, I shouldn't say if anything, it's gonna help with whatever comes uncontrolled from the property next to us.
And how deep will that get?
I think we've got it shown here at 3 feet, 2 or 3 feet,
But
At
it
the
won't
most.
stay that way.
Yeah, right.
but it's gonna bleed out. It's gonna be dry all the time unless you get a huge storm event. And Noah's Ark flows through here and then it's gonna have water.
And did this become more feasible because of the reduction of lots?
The reduction of lots helps. Because the reduction of lots lowers the generated amount of stormwater by proposing. But the pond size, if you notice, for those of you that do have memories that choose to remember the past submissions that we've made from however far back, the pond size hasn't changed all that much, but the number of lots has. So every time you take a lot off, you're lowering the amount of peak water coming in, so you have more storage in that same space to help.
The other thing that's interesting is having walked the site numerous times at a time, that lower area is eroded, there's top trees, there's stumps, it's uneven. When we reconstruct these protected waterways, it's better for us to come in because we really can put stormwater practices and we could put stone check dams and we could define,
Well,
have engineered paths.
I think the important thing there, besides that stuff, is that area, like you've mentioned before, you can't build on that down there. So we're gonna take that area and do something with it for the community by reducing some of the runoff coming from offsite next to us and provide some protection against what we're building ourselves.
And it protects the project too against perceived problems from the project that might not be,
Correct.
if they're coming through these other areas and, you know, as this kind of stuff, it can be hard. Did you model it? But what did your pre-model include all of that as separate contributing areas? So did you go up and start at a property line and see what all was actually?
And we started out property, everything that,
Yeah.
everything of the whole watershed that
You
drains
went
to
from
us.
here like up to sea.
Oh, yeah.
Does that be bad?
I mean, how many acres upland? I mean, it's
The part that comes onto us is like 80 acres.
Is it?
yeah, there's a lot.
It's uncontrolled that we're now picking up some of it.
I mean, and I think that's part of the challenge you had in the board and the community was, why are you designing such a big system? And the reason is, uphill, there's just a lot of water that's coming through this area.
Yeah.
And that's,
Comparison is really not that big.
I mean, if you had to do just 15 months, it'd be that small.
Right.
Doug, what is, the town, what do they do to make sure that this pond is being maintained? There's some system in place. If you explained it to me, some kind of letter or some kind of check.
So we receive a SWIP, stormwater pollution prevention plan, and in that plan, for every one of these, facilities.
By the,
It says in there that it will be maintained on an annual basis. But what we do is we check on an annual basis. That is actually being done. Lisa and I are working on that right now. So we've got a list of about 25 facilities. And we send that letter out and we get letters back. Probably pretty close to all of them sent back.
and they say,
They're usually from their engineer, and they give us the information that we did this, and this. And there was one I looked at, that came in today, And they took their checklist right out of the SWIFT and they went right down everything and said everything was operating satisfactory.
There's a DEC checklist in the SWIFT. That's
So that's-
recommended.
But also a town checklist.
The
No,
town needs
So
to
what we
be-
do, we get an individual SWIFT at every site. Each SWIFT is unique to itself. And we ask that they have taken their SWIFT, do what they say and say what they do, and document it and send it back to us.
An engineer.
Yes. Or whatever it says in there, right? They certify a stormwater professional or an engineer or an landscape architect or whoever that SWIFT says that we approve, you're gonna do it, you're gonna do it.
It is on the town though to follow up and make sure that
That's what I was
It's done.
wanting Doug to explain, that, yes,
It's
on
a
an
big
annual
thing.
basis, that's what they
So
do.
that's what we do as part of our.
it's the time that that it has to be done, but once there's a routine in place of doing that on the town, then it's just man hours.
Yeah, we do that every year.
And I suppose if it isn't done, then probably a letter will go out to all the homeowners, like, guess what, your HOA is not doing. what
Oh,
it's
they'll
supposed
let
to
you
do.
know long before it gets to that.
That's where your stormwater agreement comes in, where, you know, it's, say, Tom's not involved anymore and Joe Schmo decides, we're not gonna, I'm the homeowner, we're not doing that this year. That's where your homeowners thinks that Doug can go out, you can bill him for it.
Okay.
Build the HOA. But as long as the HOA is in existence, like if it stops collecting money, what happens?
There are checks and balances that come into play.
So we don't.
I've dealt with the attorney generals on issues with HOAs, and it's a nightmare, so. Someone would write to the attorney general's office, the attorney general office cites the HOA's sponsor, and it's a real problem.
That is resolved by,
You have to resubmit an amendment to the declaration, how you're gonna resolve the matter, and you can define a number of other things.
I'll be looking forward to seeing these HOA documents sooner rather than later, then we'll keep it moving.
I think you're on track. You've made significant changes from what we had before. This board is considering everything de novo. I think what you're trying to do now is a lot more feasible as far as what we're looking for.
Thank you. Next year. Thank you. We do have the outlook letter updated, you know, the back stuff, and the sanitary letter as well. Yeah. It's going well.
When do you want it back on?
Could we regroup and let you know? We gotta look at that list, I think, together. Well, I mean, I guess here's the number one question. You know, if we really need we need the wetlands addressed before we come back.
I think you do, yeah.
Okay, man. So I think we'll be back in touch with you, because I can't guarantee.
Are you working with Maggie?
Maggie's, the state, we're working with a private wetland biologist, but that's the contact review person that has to.
Sometimes it depends on, if she kicked it to the Buffalo, I got kicked to the Buffalo office.
Yeah, I don't know that for a fact, but we are dealing with Army Corps.
I guess the question is, I mean, if right now we're working on the assumption that that's gonna come through.
Yeah.
So you should just keep working, and then, I mean, that's up to you, it's your
I
dollars.
would like to keep proceeding.
It's your
whatever,
dollars.
I mean, it's been such a long time and we had a lot to do, and I understand that, but we've really whittled the list. I'd like to keep pressing forward. Unless Tom can do it with a different opinion than me. And if we're going under the assumption it's gonna be resolved. If it's not, we're gonna resolve it anyway. With the Army Corps.
You have to go with your gut.
And I guess the fencing, is that,
I mean,
The
I'm
discussion.
new to the project and
that's a good
I'm
point.
not, I don't know where it stands, like, so this is brand new then officially. So
Right.
we need to see not just a boundary drawing, but like the grading plans and the whip and all the
It's in
stuff.
there,
But I didn't get any, I mean, I didn't get anything.
I don't,
We haven't seen that.
No.
All I got was this, and then your 8.5 by 11 documents.
It sounds like, when I looked online, it looked like the last submittal was online, not the first submittal, because we
well, I think you were fixing it up, right?
right, but what I'm saying, we didn't, it's not in one package, it was like two submittals, and I think it sounds like what you have is the second part.
We got the April dated survey, but then I actually was given, I asked when I came on, I said, okay, I see this project's coming back, can I have all the history?
Oh,
And then so that's why I have it, not because I was here when it happened, so I could familiarize myself, and this was July 29.
Whatever the quote new
Last
project
survey.
is.
Or, I'm sorry, the last.
Right.
I think somebody's gotta go through all the drawings.
Yep.
Because when I go through them, I start going through them, right? The script doesn't match, the survey doesn't match. The
Right,
site plan doesn't match the grading plan.
Yeah.
And it's,
Okay.
right, it's been done so many times.
Yes.
Right, because somebody's gotta sit down and spend,
consolidate a full set.
Yes. So what do you, is that you, Scott?
That's Scott.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, Rudy, yes.
Okay.
and some of it is just minutia and
Yeah.
very simplistic, like when we talked to you and said, you know,
Yes.
the traffic study. The traffic study dated 2017, but the traffic study, it's less homes now.
Right,
So what Jamie and I said to Chris was, you know, if a design professional comes back and says with some certainty that they're an expert in traffic and that, you know, the traffic is less than or equal to what it was before, and that's what got sent in. But there are a lot of documents.
Well, we got that from Rudy. Rudy wrote back the letter and said, there's fewer animals, therefore traffic control study is gonna be lesser.
which is sort of an-
Common sense.
that's an easy one.
Thank you.
That's an easy one.
I mean, there's several of those really.
We'll compile it all, one complete submission, try to address tonight. I can't speak to that with timing.
Okay,
I think you guys did a good review. I mean, you hit the nail right in the head. The surveyor's layout of the plan and some of our lot building envelopes weren't clear. I mean, I gotta be honest with you, we're so focused on the hard engineering. I mean, that stuff we've gone over and over, but we've never gotten to this point with the layout, so we'll tighten that up.
we will take this off the calendar. And when we hear from you folks, we will put it back on the calendar.
Makes sense, sir.
Okay, thank you for coming in tonight.
Yeah.
Folks, we have one more matter on the calendar this evening. And that is the application by Aspinalls. This is a renewal of a special use permit for the property known as Aspinalls Tree and Landscaping LLC. 8797 Genesee Turnpike. And we have a letter from our town code officer telling us that there's been no complaints, no violations from it, and no complaints of any adjoining neighbors, no changes. With a recommendation of extending hand.
I have one question about that. Can you find it? So and this is just because I'm not familiar with a lot of these, but when you look at some of the backup from the previous one, it was Rusty Dems that had it submitted. It was all in his name. Is this because the permit is with the property, not the person? Or am I remembering that correctly?
Right, Rusty was the original
Right.
owner.
Yeah, and so all of this stuff is in his name, and so when he bought it all, it
It
still
should be-
says that.
It should be
never updated it?
updated to
Yes.
show the new name.
version.
Oh,
They
okay,
did do,
okay,
I must have grabbed the wrong.
okay, I just wanted to make sure I know what I'm remembering correctly how it should be, because I knew what had happened with that property and I was confused.
I'll second Ann's motion.
Motion made by Ann, second by Richard for a 7-year extension. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 7-year extension. Folks, I hate to tell you, we have no additional other business.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Wait,
Sir,
I have one question, may I step up to the podium, ladies and gentlemen?
why don't you just tell us from there?
Okay.
This is not open for any
I
further.
didn't know if it was gonna be real formal and I would have to, step up there.
Well, if it's real formal, we would tell you can't talk, but
Thank you.
just tell us what you're asking about.
It was in regards to, Mr. Fraschetti. It was, brought up at a town board meeting. This had to be,
I'd say 7 years ago, at least 5 years ago. It was in regards to Ventura, the redevelopment company, the land east of the Onondaga Country Club. I've known him for a long time, and I know some of the folks who live, you know, I guess it would be west of McClellan, all the way over to the gentleman who used to live at 527 Cleveland Boulevard, but he moved out. And then the other guy, I believe his name is Mark, he was up at the town board meeting last Wednesday in regards to discussing, you know, what's been going on down there, this, that, and the other thing, and you know, I purchased 2 of the parcels that were over there. The owner of Ventura, he was gonna give me, I guess, part of it once his contract went through on his development, which was gonna be east of Washington. But all of that area is United States federal wetland, so they're not letting anybody develop there. So he gave up on everything west of that.
All right, I'm gonna
And I guess-
have to stop you there.
I guess Mr. Craig said there was gonna be a land grant to me, in regards to the rest of Cleveland Boulevard, and it was negotiable all the way till Cedar Bay Road.
We cannot talk about that because we do not have knowledge of that. And the fact of the matter is, nothing like that is in front of us. We have nothing in front of us regarding any of that. I think you have the wrong town board, where this is the planning board. Sounds to me like this is a town board issue, and Mr. Fatesky is the town board attorney,
Yeah,
not our attorney.
that's why I thought that maybe Mrs. Summerlin would know more about it. I believe that she's.
Well, whether she can answer that, I don't
No,
know.
I'm just gonna say that I'm not involved in any of that. That's not before this board, so I haven't been involved in any discussions. I know there's something going on at town board, but I really can't tell you what it is. So
I mean, I
it's
was
not-
interested in, you know, how much, what kind of grant would be involved in the state, if I would have to have money out of my own pocket. The town board has already granted me an easement for a driveway. I don't want an easement.
So I have to tell you truly, I don't really know what you're talking about, so,
If we had some knowledge, we could convey it to you.
Yeah.
But we are in the absolute dark on this. This is not something that's in front of us.
All right.
And it would be totally inappropriate to take wild guesses.
Something to do.
Okay, sorry.
Beautiful. Now, has anybody said anything in regards to the road going from, it would be Fifth Street between Homewood and Cleveland Mall? Corridor Fifth Street?
nothing to us.
Nothing at all.
Nothing to this board.
Nada. Nothing zilch. No.
Well, there's a lot of talk over at the town board, and I've got money that I would look at.
You ought to talk to them then, because nothing in front of us.
They do have an open podium session in the beginning of each of their meetings that you can sign up for ahead of time to speak. So you can
So
try.
I'm gonna go around to the different offices. They'll give me something to do this spring and in the summer. That would be fine. I just didn't know if they were gonna automatically grant it.
Richard,
I made a motion already.
You're welcome.
motion made and